Hi again, guys. Jesse here with Cisco Academy Help, the video tutorial series that hopefully helps you dive deeper into the world of Cisco. My goal, my hope is that I try to help illustrate the information that you've read throughout your week and how it associates to the labs and packet tracers that they have you go through. Again, you might find video tutorial series that go much faster through the packet tracer or the lab, and it's just about getting the work done. But my hope is that I can illustrate the information that they're asking and try to give you more understanding of why they're asking you to do it. And this week, we are going through Packet Tracer 6.3.1.10, exploring internetworking devices. So, as we dive into this Packet Tracer, within your weekly reading, you've kind of gone through the OSI model again, the different 7 layers of the OSI model, and you focused in on the network layer, right? When the PDU makes its way down to the network layer, it becomes a packet, plain and simple. Again, it talks about how the encapsulation process, when the information comes down from the transport layer and then down to the networking layer, it encapsulates, and then as it makes its way from the network layer down to the data link layer and down to the physical, each one of those, it causes it to re-encapsulate with new information each time. And as it makes its way through the network and pops up wherever you send it to, it has to encapsulate, and each bit of that information, it can only encapsulate at that associated OSI layer. So network information can only be de-encapsulated by the network layer of the device that you're sending it to. Okay. Also, you learned about that the characteristics of the IP protocol with the network layer is the delivery methods, that is a best effort type of delivery mechanism. We're just going to send the information out and hope that it gets there. We can't guarantee it, right? We also learned about how it's a connectionless exchange of information. We're sending it out there. The host that's receiving the information doesn't even know it's coming. We're just going to send it, and hopefully he hears it and responds to it. Also, that it is a media independent form of communication. It doesn't matter whether it's wireless, serial cables, coax, fiber optic, Ethernet. It doesn't matter. It still communicates over every type of media that you send it out on. Also, as I scroll down through your notes, you went through routers, routing tables, what's involved with that, and what each portion of the routing table is trying to tell you, as well as the physical connections that you'll find on a router, console port, interfaces, serial interfaces, gigabit interfaces, fiber optic interfaces, all that kind of good stuff. And a lot of that we're going to go into and explore within this packet tracer. So let's go ahead and just jump right in now. With this packet tracer, the background says, in this activity, you will explore the different options available to internetworking devices. You will also be required to determine which options provide the necessary connectivity when connecting multiple devices. Finally, you will add the correct modules and connect the devices. And then it kind of goes into how the scoring works within Packet Tracer. We'll just jump down to part 1, the identify physical characteristics of internetworking devices. Step 1, identify the management ports on a Cisco router. So once this jump over to the east router, just by clicking on it, let's go ahead and move this over here. Within the screen here, you can see that you have 3 tabs. You have the physical, you have the configuration, you have this command line interface tab, but they want us to focus in on the physical tab here. Within the physical tab, you have your zoom in, so you can zoom in to the device. You have zoom out, and you have the original size right there. So we'll zoom in, and we can also use the scroll right and left to kind of move back and forth right here. Within this, we also have the ability to see what type of interfaces that are on the actual router itself. So, step 1, part C, says which management ports are available. Well, we have a USB console port as well as the RJ45 console port on here. And I'm sure as you went through your reading, you also learned about the auxiliary port, which is generally used for a dial-up modem so that you can dial in so you have a second way of accessing the router besides your WAN connection, your WAN connection that you use for high-speed data and things like that. And then you have your USB ports as well as your gigabit Ethernet ports that are right here, both 00 and 0-1. Going down to step 2, it says identify the LAN and WAN interfaces on a Cisco router. Which LAN and WAN interfaces are available on East router and how many are there? Well, if we were just to look, you could kind of see already we have 2 LAN interfaces with the gigabit ports right here, and then we have this serial interface right here, which gives us two different serial ports, but it wants us to jump into the command line interface, the CLI, and take a look from there. So we'll jump into the CLI. And again, we are in user mode when we first sign in. So we want to enable and go up to privilege mode. From here, well, you know what? I'm sorry. We can go back down to user mode, so we'll do that. And you can do most show commands within user mode. In this case, they want us to go ahead and look at the IP interface brief. So IP interface brief, and that will pull up our interfaces. And you can see right here we have 2 LAN interfaces that are both down at this point, administratively and protocol. We have 2 WAN interfaces and our serial interfaces. And then we have this 5th VLAN. Remember, VLANs are virtual interfaces, and if we look right here, it says the VLAN interface is a virtual interface and only exists in software. It is not a physical interface that you can plug a cable into. It is a virtual interface. It's the best way to put it. From there, let's see how many physical interfaces are listed. Well, we kind of looked at that already. Part C of step 2, enter the following commands. Show interface gigabit 00. Okay, so we'll do show interface. And again, I just type in a couple letters and then I hit tab to auto-fill the rest of the word. You can do that as well, or you can just type in, if you wanted to, just enough characters to be to associate itself to that command. So in this case, you could just type in INT and it would go ahead and associate to interface, just as easy as that. And then we're going to go gigabit. Again, I don't have to type in the whole entire word. I can just type a G and then the interface number. And it pulls up the interface just like that. The question it asks is, what is the default bandwidth of this interface? Okay, so there's a lot of information here. Again, it will show you here on the first line whether the interface is up or down and whether the protocol is up or down. The MAC address right here, the MTU, which you'll learn a lot of this stuff, the encapsulation method, the keep alives, as well as if the interface is full duplex or half duplex. The media type right here, it's an RJ45. As well as the different ARP information, the different output as far as bit and packets, throttling, multicast, all that kind of cool stuff, which you'll again learn more about. But in this case, it's just asking for the bandwidth, which is located right here, and that is 1 million kilobytes. Yeah, which is like what, 125? What is that? 125 megabytes? Bytes? I think bytes, bits. I can't remember. You can look it up on Google. That's the great thing about this stuff. You can always look up stuff like that on Google. Um, okay, jumping down from there, it says show the interface serial 0000. Let's go ahead and type show interface serial 00. Enter. Question is, what is the default bandwidth of the interface? Again, it shows a lot of the same information. Gives you the bandwidth right here, but it also, I believe, will tell you the bandwidth of the interface right about here. You go, available bandwidth right there. So that'll tell you the available bandwidth that it can be sent, as well as what the bandwidth and what it's set to right up there. Okay, so that answers that question. All right, in the note, this is an interesting note. It says bandwidth in the serial interface is used by routing processes to determine the path to a destination. It does not indicate the actual bandwidth of the interface. The actual bandwidth is negotiated by your service provider, otherwise known as your ISP. Basically, it doesn't matter what the speed of your interface is. It might be a 10 megabyte or 100 or 1,000. It might be a gigabyte interface. It doesn't matter what that is. It is always dictated how fast your ISP connection is. Doesn't matter. So you might have a slower interface. You might have a 100 megabyte interface, but if that ISP is cruising at a gigabit service, that interface will never go as fast as that gigabit service, and vice versa. If you have a gigabit interface, it's not going to go any faster than 100 megabyte service that you're going to have. Okay, so let's cruise down to step 3. Identify module expansion slots on switches. How many expansion slots are available to add additional modules to the east router? So we'll go ahead and we'll click out of the CLI. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Apologize. And we'll click back over to the physical tab. From here, we can zoom in and we can see within the east router, we have 1, 2 that are open, as well as a third expansion slot, which is already taken up by your serial interface. So there's 3 total, 2 open. Click on switch 2 and 3 and see how many expansion slots are available. So switch 2 right there. And we can look right here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 expansion slots that are open, as well as another 5 that are already being used. And I believe that's going to be the same for switch 3. Yep, same as switch 3. All right. Going down to part 2 as we're cruising along. Again, don't worry about your completion right now. We're just going through the questions. We will definitely get some more completion points as we work our way through the bottom half of the lab. Part 2, select the correct modules for connectivity. Step 1, determine which modules provide the required connectivity. Part A of step 1, it says click East and then click the physical tab. So we'll do that. Bring up the East. Physical tab is already selected. On the left, beneath the Module tab, you will see the available options to expand the capabilities of the router. So if we look right here on the left-hand side, you can see you have different modules. You have the HWIC-27 module, which right here populates here. I'll click off of it so you can see down here at the bottom. You get a brief description of whatever you click on, and then it shows you what that looks like. So you can see right here we have the serial interface, and it says the Cisco 2-port serial high-speed WAN interface card providing 2 serial ports. Wow. Clicking on the next one down, we have a HWIC4ESW provides 4 switch ports. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll be an interesting question, or a question for later. And then we have another serial asynchronous IA, which you'll learn about those acronyms later within the Cisco Academy. And then we just have a plain white cover to cover up, as you can see right here, the slot ports, so nothing gets in there. Click each module, picture, okay, and yep, familiar yourself with these options. Okay. 1. Let's see, you need to connect PCs 1, 2, and 3 to the east router, but you do not have the necessary funds to purchase a new switch. Which module will help you use to connect the 3 PCs to the east router? Okay, so we kind of looked at that already, and it's right here, the HWIC-4ESW. That answers that question. All right. 2, how many hosts can be connected to the module? Yep, 4. And then click on switch 2. Switch 2. Bring that over here. It says, which module can you insert to provide gigabit optical connection to switch 3? All right, so if we click through here, you can see this is just an Ethernet connection. So, I mean, you can go ahead and take your time if you want to read that. And then you click on the next one, again, another fast Ethernet connection. You can go ahead and read that information if you would like. Excuse me. And then a gigabit Ethernet jack, and you can go ahead and read that information if you want. Hey, we're starting to get into fiber here. We have a fast Ethernet interface, but that's still not what we need. We need a gigabit Ethernet interface, and that's going to be the PT switch NM1FGE. Love it. Okay, so that is the connector that which you would use. Let's go down to step 2. It says add the correct modules and power up devices. Click east. So let's get out of switch 2. Click east. Bring that over to here. And attempt to insert the appropriate module from step 1A. Okay, so we needed to go ahead and add the 4 switched Ethernet jacks. Here we go. We're going to try it. And what's going to happen? Ooh, cannot add this module when the power is on. Okay, to do the turn, before you install any cards, you always have to turn off your machine. To do that, you do have this little power button right here. We'll go ahead and toggle that off, and then we can go ahead and insert that switch right there. And then we can go ahead and turn it back on, and then we're good as gold. From there, it says, okay, so it just gave you the information that I told you about. Turning the stuff off, turn it back on, and then you're good to go. Note, if you insert the wrong module and need to remove it, drag the module down to its picture from the bottom right corner and release the mouse button. So you can just take it right back off if you want to. Let's go to C. Using the same procedure, insert the appropriate modules from step 1B in the empty slot farthest to the right of both switch 2 and switch 3. So in this case, we have to follow that same procedure. We need to first turn the power off. We need to pull up the gigabit optical. It said farthest to the right. There we go. And we can go ahead and turn that back on now. Exit out, go down to switch 2, do the same procedure. Power off, grab the appropriate connector for the slot, slap it in there, power back on, and it really is that easy in real life. You power it off, you grab the card out, you slap it in there, and you're good to go. It's that easy. Okay. Says right here, use the show IP interface brief command to identify the slots in which the modules were placed. Into which slot was it inserted? So we can go ahead and pull up the CLI. command line interface into user mode. We can do a show IP interface brief. And it was inserted into the gigabit 5/1 slot. And it's as easy as that. Okay, click the West router. The physical tab should be active. Install the appropriate module that will add a serial interface to enhance the high-speed WAN interface card. And it's the lower EHW IC0 slot on the upper right. You can cover any unused slots to prevent dust from entering the router. That is optional. So we'll click on West, the West world. And again, we need to power off. And we're going to go ahead and use the serial interface that they've already have supplied here, clicked on, that is the HWIC-2T. We'll grab that and slap that in there. We can power back. Well, first we have to put the dust cover on, the optional dust cover. We'll slap that on there and then power back on. And it's as easy as that. Okay, let's go down to, what does it say? Use the appropriate command to verify the serial interfaces are installed. Okay, let's do that real quick. So we'll pull up the command line interface. And user mode, we'll do the show IP interface brief. And voila, we have our serial interfaces. Look at that. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Let's go to part 3. Connect devices. Okay, as it says, this might be your first activity you have done or where you are required to connect devices. Although you may not know the purpose of each cable types or different cable types, use the table below with the following guidelines to successfully connect all devices. Select the appropriate cable type, click the first device and select the specified interface. Click the second device and select the specified interface. If you correctly connect 2 devices, you will see your score increase. Yeah. Okay. A bunch of other stuff here. I'll just go over the table with you real quick so you can understand what they're trying to tell you within these packet tracers. Right here, we have the column that says device that lets you know which device you're starting on. And then over here is the other device column, which tells you which device you're ending on. Within this device, you're looking for this interface to connect, as well as this interface for that device. And then you have the cable type right here. Hopefully you've gone through the previous labs and this isn't your first time doing this. And hopefully maybe you've even watched some of my video tutorials already that kind of discuss the difference between straight through copper, fiber, crossover cables, and so on, serial links, things like that. I'll try to explain them as I connect them as well. So we're going to go ahead and jump into East right here. So it says connect your East router via Gigabit Ethernet 00 with a copper straight through cable to switch 1, the Gigabit Ethernet 1. So we'll come down here, we'll select the lightning bolt underneath connections, and then we'll click on the copper straight through. So we're connecting to East. We're going to use Gigabit Ethernet 0, and we're going to connect to switch 1, and we just click on it. And we're going to go to Gigabit Ethernet 1, and there you go. It is connected. Next, it says go ahead and connect to switch 4 via your Gigabit Ethernet 0 /1, just like that. Switch 4, and we're going to its Gigabit Ethernet 0/1. And there we go. And you can see already our completion score has gone up 8 points out of 52. Continuing from there, we need to connect the PC1 to the East router. To do that, we're going to use a copper straight through cable. We're going to connect to the switched interfaces. If it lets me, come on. There we go. And That's that card we went ahead and we inserted earlier. So we're going to connect to that and go to PC1. Beautiful. And then we're going to do the same thing for PC2. PC3. Perfect. And there you go. If you ever connect something incorrectly, you can come over to the X on the far right side and click on what you need to delete, and then when you want to go back to your arrow, just come over to the right hand side here and click on that arrow, and you're back. If for some reason you click on something and it'll ask you this, do you want to delete this item? Click no unless you intend on deleting whatever you've selected. So we'll click no, and we'll go back here and we'll reconnect the PC. Just as good as that. All right. That's all of it. So now we need to jump to switch 1. Switch 1 wants us to connect to PC4 with a straight through cable via their Fast Ethernet 01 to its Fast Ethernet 0 port. Again, straight through copper. And again, as you click on things, let me cancel that. As you, highlight things with your arrow, it'll tell you what that object is down here below. So when you're looking for a copper straight through cable, just click on it and it'll highlight it. So we're going from, what was it, switch 1. There we go. Switch 1, Fast Ethernet 0/1 to PC4. PC5. And PC6. All right. We're up to 32 completed points. So we're just kind of cruising along now. From there, it says switch 4 needs to be connected to switch 3 via a copper crossover cable. Now remember, whenever you're connecting from router to router with any type of Ethernet or switch to switch or router to PC, you should use a crossover cable. In a physical environment, depending on the age of your equipment, they have what's called auto sense that will sense the pins or the wires inside of the connector, which ones are its incoming and outgoing communication wires. But in Packet Tracer, it does not do that. We actually have to connect it with crossover cables. So we'll click the copper crossover cable. We're going to go between, what was it, switch 4 and it's gigabit Ethernet 2. And we're going to go to switch 3 to its gigabit Ethernet 3 /1. There we go. From there, we need to go to switch 3 and connect that to switch 2 via the gigabit Ethernet 5/1 and the same over at the switch 2, but we're using fiber in this instance. So we'll come down here, select the orange fiber cable, go on switch 3, and you can see there's 2 fiber optic interfaces right here, but we need to make sure that we select the 5/1 gigabit interface, and the same with the switch 2. Okay, finally, switch 2 interfaces. So we're going to select a copper straight through cable, and we're going to be connecting the PCs 7 through 9. So we're going to go to switch interface Fast Ethernet 0/1 for PC7. /1 and 2/1. There we go. Finally, it says connect the east router via serial link to the west. Now, it does specify what type of cable you should be using and which one you should be connecting first. And the reason is that between the two different routers, you have to set your clock rate and which one's going to be your DCE and your DTE. And so you have to really pay attention to that. You'll learn more about that as you go through your chapters and what that means. If not, you can ask your instructor, and they'd be more than willing to tell you about that. So from here, we'll click on East, and we're going to go Serial Interface. We'll go to our West, go to the Serial Interface 000. And at that point, we have completed this lab. So I hope this lab was informative and helped you out understand a little bit more what they were looking for and how it relates to your reading material. Again, if you have any questions or comments, you can definitely leave them within the YouTube video, or you can send me an email at notciscoacademyhelp@gmail.com. If you have any questions, I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can to try to help you work your way through these different labs, or if you saw that I missed something, definitely let me know. I always try to make these videos as informative as possible. Again, thank you so much, and continue to lean into this course. You're really going to enjoy it. I know I did, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.